Writers Inc. It is a nonprofit that we've got here in San Diego. It's actually, I believe, it is the only writing group that we have in San Diego that has an actual brick and mortar space, which is kind of great. And one of the things that we are very passionate about is, establishing a community, a literary community for writers of all different levels, so that there is a open and safe space for people to work and to, on in whatever phase or step they're in their writing process or in their transition as an author or a writer or whatever it might be. There's a lot of things for people who, there's a lot of blocks, a lot of obstacles that people who are writing or wanting to get into writing, come across. And the biggest block of them all is always fear. Fear of failure, fear that you're not enough, fear that you're not good, fear that nobody will understand your words or anything like that. And so, one of the things that we foster is that community aspect. And when I say safe space, I mean a space that, regardless of whatever level you are at in your writing process, we want to be able to provide some sort of a platform or a group or a support system or a class or a workshop that will help, the writer get into the space that they need to get into to continue on with their work. So we actually provide a lot of different types of outlets and services. So we have our regular classes, and our classes can run from like a 1 day, 2 to 3 hour workshop to something that is like an ongoing certificate program. Right. So we've got, for example, like the 1 day workshops. This weekend alone, we started on Saturday. We started today. We started a playwriting workshop. That's, for beginning playwriters. And I believe that's going to be like an 8 class session, 2 hours every Sunday for 8 consecutive weeks. Let me see. Yesterday, we had 4 different classes that started. One of them was a memoir class from somebody who is very, very involved in the memoir writing community. That's part of a certificate program, along with a novel class, which is again part of a certificate program. So we have memoirs, we have novels, and we have poetry. All have different levels of classes. And at the end of when you take all of these classes, you'll get a certificate saying that you completed a certificate program in that. So those are two. Then we have this fantastic 1 day class, The Art About Unforgettable Characters, right? And so that was just a 2 hour, 3 hour class, I believe, where, an author who's also one of our instructors, taught a class that was specifically about, character building and how can you create different characters in whatever it is that you're writing, a novel or, or a play or a screenplay or whatever it might be. And that's like an example of a 1 day class. Had a poetry class that started, this past week too. And this particular poetry class was specifically based on the history of one aspect of poetry. So yeah, so if for anybody who is just dabbling, dabbling, or somebody who is really looking to hone in their craft, we've got all these different types of classes. Um, we have about, I believe, about 30 instructors that are part of our staff, our instructor staff. Plus, we also have, an additional 40 plus instructors that will kind of come in and out and have like certain niches that they teach. And so they'll teach maybe 1 or 2 1 day classes a year or something like that. So that's just all of our writing classes. Something that we also have too are writing groups. And these writing groups are ongoing groups that meet up, where it's writers supporting each other that always has a facilitator. So we have read and critique groups. where these are really great groups too, and led by some really amazing facilitators. The read and critique groups, basically it's a group of people that will meet up one or two times a week, depending on what type of a group it is. And they bring works, and it is like it says, read and critique. So, the author will write or will present something that they're working on, and then the group kind of gives, feedback for the writer to continue on. And so it is a supportive group, because most of the read and critique groups are people that have been together for a while. Like when you join, with the expectation that you will be there and support your group every single solitary time that you meet. So it's not just you getting the feedback, you are there to help, give feedback to the other writers that are in the group. So those are our read and critique groups. We also have just drop in classes as well, called like Room to Write, where we open up our brick and mortar space that's in Liberty Station, for a couple of hours. There's somebody there that's there to facilitate. And it's just a place for if somebody just needs that extra motivation, that you can come to San Diego Writers Inc. on Fridays from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock, and that is your designated time frame to write. We just open the space. It's not a read and critique. It's just so that you can be around other writers and have a space where, is designated specifically for you to work. Let me see, what else do we have here? On top of that, too, we've got, goodness gracious, let me think. So we have like specific genre focused writing groups. So fiction focused writing groups that meet up, poet writing groups that meet up. Like I said, the Room to Write. We've got a lot of different prompt sessions that we have as well. So, people can drop in. Most of these are all done online too. You can drop into a prompt group, and it's just as it says, for somebody who just wants, to just explore a little bit or just needs a little bit of inspiration. The facilitator will give out prompts. We will have 15 to 20 minutes to write, and then whoever wants to share shares. And it's not a critique type of a setting either. It's just a space for people to be creative and to, sometimes writers have blocks and they just need something simple like that, to just inspire something. Or, we've had a lot of people that have joined our prompt groups that something that they've written in one of the prompt groups has kind of inspired them to, move forward with that. And it's turned into a short story or a play or a part of their novel or whatever it might be. So yeah, and there's different types of prompt groups that we have as well. On top of that too, we always have like different writing retreats that we've got a couple of times a year. We've got a fall equinox writing retreat coming up where our participants are going to meet up in goodness gracious, I can't remember, but it's in one of the park sections in Balboa Park. And they'll spend a couple of hours just walking through, Balboa Park, and then stopping in certain spots and given a prompt and just, kind of write. So yeah, so those are some of the different aspects that we have too. And then for people who are a little bit further along or need more individualized types of support too, we've got customizable writing programs. So if there is something in there that you don't really see that you need, we've got that space where you can create your own class and, create your own group, and we'll help you to get that out there to see if there's other people that, are interested in joining, or, we'll help to cultivate that for you. And we also have one-on-one consultation as well with our instructors. On our instructor roster, we've got Ron Salisbury, who is the first poet laureate for San Diego. We have T. Greenwood, she has sold over 250,000 like copies of like her novels. So we've got a great roster of people who are very experienced and very knowledgeable in this literary community, that really just kind of want to share their talents and share their knowledge for people who are wanting to do the same. Several of our prompt classes, our drop-in classes are free. We also have certain programs too throughout the year, spring into writing, fall into writing. Well, we'll do like weekend, all day type of workshops where the instructors will volunteer their time to do 1.5 hour workshops that people can pay what they can, to come in and kind of sort of like take a look at everything that we've got. And actually, one of the things that we really do pride ourselves on is the fact that we make everything that we do affordable. So even some of our drop-in classes, they're free to members of San Diego Writers Inc., but I think it's like a $5 fee if you just want to come and, drop in. And even with like our certificate classes too, our instructors that we have, they're really great and knowledgeable instructors that, have um, a lot of experience in the industry and a lot of success in the industry. And I mean, our classes for like an 8 week class is less than $300 for a class with somebody who, you know, is, um, is an expert, for a better lack of words, in whatever it is that they're teaching. So yes, it most definitely is something that we do pride ourselves on, is we try to make all of these resources affordable. We are a nonprofit, and the community aspect is something that is very important to us. On top of that, too, our executive director and our board, are very, very insistent on the fact that if there is somebody that is in need, and, for whatever reason, they financially cannot, give what we are asking, we provide scholarship programs for people as well. So you just have to ask, and we'll be there to support. The read and critique groups, they do cost. It depends on the specific group, because the read and critique groups, some of them meet once a month, some of them meet weekly. So, it really does depend. I think in general, generally speaking, our price point is like $18 an hour for members, for whatever session, class, workshop, whatever it is. And then I think it's like $22 for non-members, I think is the average breakdown. Um, pardon me. That is the average breakdown of it. So with San Diego Writers Inc. too, there are, I'm so sorry, there are options that we have too about membership. So becoming a member, you've got different membership types. So a household membership is $75 a year. Individual memberships are $45 a year. We have student low income memberships that are $30 a year. There's a lifetime membership too. So if somebody just wants to be a lifetime member for us, it's $350 for a lifetime membership. And our members, benefits of our membership, discounts obviously on our tuition for classes and workshops, free admission to all of our room to write sessions. Those are the drop-ins that are free to our members, but like $5 for non-members. Free admission to A Year in Ink, which is our anthology and our big anthology presentation that we have, a function and event that we have every year. Discounted or free admission to all of our readings and events, because, like I mentioned, we do try to cultivate the writing experience for people on all levels of what they are doing. And so we will have readings a lot. We will have book signings and readings from published authors. We've got a lot of really cool events that we do. So yeah, so those are some of the benefits of the membership. I want to touch a little bit about success stories. So, us as an organization, we don't necessarily define success stories as people who have been published, right? We define our success stories in both our instructors that we have and in our members of our classes that we have. A favorite success story of mine is we have a writer, and she has given me permission to share her story. Her name is Laura. She is a memoir writer, and she's a part of the memoir writing community. She started out with San Diego Writers Inc. just doing one of those drop-in prompt class sessions. That was online. I think actually at the time that was pre-COVID. So we actually had this particular writing group meet up at the Malcolm X Library, the library that we've got. And they meet up every week, and they had a space in the library, and they would get prompts and write and all of that stuff. Now that particular group I know has moved online, and they meet every Friday. But Laura started out just joining us in that prompt group, and that inspired her to start taking some more classes, and she fell into memoirs, and she took an artist way class, and really got inspired about this story, that the secret that she had in her life, and that turned into a memoir about her giving up her firstborn when she was a teenager, and turned into this really wonderful experience for her and for her family. So she continues on too with our memoir writing program, and now is been an advisor and a mentor for other people who are wanting to do the same thing. I'm wanting to get a thought or something out there, in writing. So yeah, and there are so many other success stories that we have too, not just again of people getting published, but something as super simple as in one of the classes that I was a part of, one of the participants there was a newly retired lawyer, who had always just wanted to paint and wanted to, do poetry, and just, to see her step into that next creative phase in her life, through just being able to open herself up with the different types of classes and stuff that we offer. That's a huge success for us too. Anytime that we are able to help someone facilitate an idea or a thought or a passion project, or even just unblock something that they've got on their creative side to help them open up that aspect in their life, we consider that a success. We're a nonprofit, and we've got like the community aspect is very, very important to us, but not just for the literary community, but for all artistic communities. We collaborate a lot with other arts organizations, theater, visual arts, whatever it might be. And we want to be able to support not just the art communities too, but other nonprofits. Like I mentioned before, we have a brick and mortar space, and we are very, very free and open into like offering our brick and mortar space to other people as well. So for any nonprofit people that are out there too, just know that if you need a space to rent, San Diego Writers Inc. Will rent the space for like $10 an hour for nonprofits, for events or for anything like that. But we're very big on art supporting art and us supporting each other, especially in the world as it is right now. It's important for us to make sure that we continue to cultivate that creative part that is important for people in all developmental stages of their lives. So